Hi guys, so now I'm just going to show you how to get started on your pincushion. Basically a pincushion we will be making is a simple rectangle made out of fabric, and we will sew a magnet inside. So when you're sewing, you can put it on, and then if you have any pins or needles on your table like this, you can pick them up with your magnet easily. So I asked you to cut out a rectangle which is 4.5 inches this way and 9 inches long. So 4.5 inches wide and 9 inches long. And the 9 inches was the width which kind of fits my wrist. So your wrists might be smaller or wider, but it just gives enough extra to overlap for the Velcro to add at the end. So once you have your fabric cut out, I would like you to iron it and fold it in half this way. And then if you have your sewing machine, you can sew one side which is shorter shut, and then along the long edge. And if you don't have a sewing machine, you can do this again by hand sewing it. So I'm just gonna again use a running stitch, and I'm gonna sew pretty close to the edge, so less than 1/4 inch, but not so close that if it frays my sewing will come out. So just a little bit less, about 2/8 of an inch. Oh, that's a quarter. So and make sure you keep the stitching small, because otherwise it will make gaps. So the reason why we're closing only one side and not the other is because we need to leave one side open to get the magnet in. So after we sew it, I mean, it's so much faster to do this on the machine, but I just want to get some of these smaller projects done so we can start making our dresses. I'm also gonna cut off this extra. And we're gonna sew along the edge. I've had students make a mistake before and sew along the folded edge. So you don't have to sew along the folded edge because it's already closed. You do need to sew along this edge that's, that opens up, because we want to close it. But if you make a mistake, it's okay. You can always undo the stitches and re-sew it. I'm going quickly, but I'm trying to keep the stitching small. And again, I'm pretty close to the edge, but not so close that if it frays, it will come out. I hope it doesn't rip. Okay, good. And obviously, again, if you have a machine, you can do this on a machine. So on a machine you would sew here and then all the way down. So I'm just going to finish this stitch. Tie a knot. Put this back in here so it doesn't get lost. And now, sometimes I cut the corners so it's a little bit neater, but just make sure you don't cut through your sewing. And now we will, I'll put the scraps in here so I can throw them out later. And now we're gonna turn it the right side out. This is a good practice for any type of belts or straps that you might be making, because this is how they would be made. They will be made out of thin rectangles, which will be sewed wrong side out, and then you will turn them the right side out. And if you want to push out the corners, you can use a pencil and kind of lightly push the corner out. Another thing I would do, I would take this back to the ironing board and iron it. And so now the next step would be to sew a line near a center. Then you can put your magnet in and then sew another line. So the reason why we need to sew these two lines is so our magnet doesn't, move back and forth, because if we don't kind of secure it in the middle, it will kind of wobble all over the place. So again, by hand sewing, you can take your needle and thread and just hand stitch a line, and it will keep your magnet in place. And you would kind of hand stitch a line on both sides of it. And then once you have your magnet secured, then I like to turn this in, turn the edges in, iron them down, and either machine sew it or hand sew it down, and then you can just add your Velcro and you're done. So I hope this helped.